Haunting in Venice is directed by Kenneth Branagh and stars him in his third outing as the famed detective Hercule Poirot. In post-World War II Venice, Poirot, now retired and living in his own exile, reluctantly attends a séance. But when one of the guests is murdered, it is up to the former detective to once again uncover the killer. When it comes to these stories by Agatha Christie, Halloween Party was definitely one of the least adapted ones. It was adapted for television once before, and now we're finally getting a feature film adaptation of it. The two previous films in this franchise, The Murder on the Orient Express and Death on the Nile, are both enjoyable murder mysteries that I think are going to be even more enjoyable if you're like me and you like murder mysteries. That's going to be an element that's going to help both of those movies as well as this one. But this one has something very unique in that it skews horror. And as you know, I love murder mysteries and I love horror. So immediately this movie gets a lot of points for me that it might not get for everyone else. But on the flip side of that coin, because I love the horror genre so much, I'm going to be looking at this with a somewhat stricter eye. And I'm going to be looking at the scares and the way they're set up with a little bit of reservation because the genre is so important to me. What Branagh gets right is the same thing he got right in the first two movies, the character. He's excellent as Poirot. In fact, I would love to see even more movies with him as this character because he's just so likable and charismatic. He brings so much to every line, and he really is the reason to watch all three of them. But just like with the previous two, he's assembled another excellent cast. Michelle Yeoh being a standout. She's terrific in the seance scene, and I've seen a lot of seances in movies, and this one has a very unique way of approaching it, particularly in the camera work, but also in Michelle Yeoh. She's fantastic during that sequence. Tina Fey gets a chance to do something totally different here in a completely non-comedic role. She plays an author who sees the chance to write a non-fiction book about all of this. The majority of the action this time around takes place entirely inside this house. Granted, it's a massive, gigantic house, but still, it feels claustrophobic because you rarely ever go outside. And when Poirot is like, nobody's leaving until we solve this, you really do feel like you're trapped with them. Now, the first time I saw a trailer for this movie, I almost laughed because I can't remember what the film was, but I'm pretty sure it was a PG-13 movie, and there were a lot of teenagers there, and the entire first half of this trailer is set up like it's a Conjuring Universe movie or something, like it's The Nun 2. And then at the very end, a guy with a mustache the size of Texas shows up, and I could just tell that people in my theater were like, wait, what? Because it's so jarring if you have no idea about this franchise. Which makes me think that the film might have a hard time attracting an audience, because I think the majority of the audience for these movies skew older, and older audiences aren't that interested in a movie called A Haunting in Venice. This poster isn't helping either. And a younger audience who sees that trailer and poster is going to think, what is this, like a Blumhouse movie with a dude with a massive mustache? And so it feels like it's kind of conflicted about what its audience is, but that's not really the movie's fault. It's kind of just my thoughts on how it might be perceived at the box office. Because I feel like anybody's grandma might go see a Hercule Poirot movie. But anybody's grandma might also need some explanation when you say, hey grandma, do you want to go see A Haunting in Venice? Unless your grandma is like fucking awesome, which would be cool, but I think most older audiences are going to need a little explanation when you tell them that's the title of the movie. And the horror aspect of this movie is probably its weakest, unfortunately. Flashes of things that didn't feel like they were there in the moment. There's a good amount of tension, and Branagh's Dutch angles that didn't really work for me in his Thor movie work much better here in a film like this. This isn't exactly his first foray into horror. He directed a film called Dead Again in the 90s that felt a little horror adjacent, but he also played a private eye in that film as well. As I said at the beginning, this movie is going to get extra points for me because of the fact that it has horror elements and it's a murder mystery. These things are always going to work for me if they're done well, and I think they are done mostly well here. Where the disappointment came in was the way he crafted his scares. I think the most fascinating aspect of the movie is taking this character and making him question his beliefs, because he walks in thinking like, this is bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, ghosts aren't real, this isn't real, and I'm going to prove all of you wrong. But when he sees things that he can't quite explain, that's when the movie gets really interesting, because it challenges him. So I do think that this film does better things for his character, but I think that the murder mystery element of the other two films was better. So let me know what you thought of A Haunting in Venice if you end up seeing it. Guys, thank you so much as always for watching. Look forward to more videos very soon, and if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.